Thank you for waiting. Hi, I'm Thorn, and this is the Left by Entertainment System. Uh, a safe space to get outside your comfort zone. If a comfort zone could even exist today, considering the state of things. One moment. I think. Where was it? There we are. Ugh, I am leaving the channels open for a guest to arrive, possibly. I hope everybody is surviving as well as they can be. And what do I mean by the state of things? If you have not been paying attention to the news, there's been a lot of, there's been a lot of anti-trans legislation, like throughout the U.S. A lot of stripping of protections and whatnot, but particularly Medicaid is being stripped, and like lots of limitations are being put on it, and there's also a lot of like more loops to jump through for Medicaid for like anyone, but also ban to trans healthcare. So like hormone replacement therapy and any sort of surgeries that were covered in Medicaid, even partially, wouldn't be covered anymore. It won by one vote in the House of Representatives, I think, and now it's going on to the Senate. We're going to be talking about it. I have a bunch of like articles and people covering it, some videos even. Yeah, it's interesting to think about how often we could be doing streams like this, considering there's always something going on in the news cycle. Though I would say that there is a uh, like sort of like running interference type things, because I think the GOP is very much doing like big grandiose things, but also doing like things that people aren't noticing as much because of like the showmanship of a lot of the news cycle, with in regards to just sweeping statements, like blatant lies and that sort of stuff. Our fascist president is um, making it hard for poor people, for uh, marginalized people to live, for immigrants here to live, for trans people, for queer people here to live, and it's only gonna get worse. And uh, these provisions changing Medicaid, making a lot of vulnerable people not covered anymore, or having to adhere to standards that they can't meet, so de facto they can't have health insurance. There's people talking about how they will die without Medicaid, and that is very true. A lot of people like life saving medical care. Um, and that also includes transition care. We ourselves just got back on HRT, and we already felt like we were in a very unstable position with that, um, because we actually don't have Medicaid right now, but our clinic was willing to like fill a couple of prescriptions for us. Uh, in the meantime, I don't know what's gonna happen with that. DIY is something that a lot of people are probably uncomfortable with, but it's about to become something of a reality to need to know how to navigate those channels. We think. Even before now, but especially if this fully passes. But we'll be reading about stuff and talking about it because as troubling as this news is, I think that we can parse through it, make some sense of it and what's happening, and not panic and doomerize. Um, Things will probably get worse, but we have to breathe, not panic. When I was talking about like the running interference, like all the things to uh, like aggravate people, the culture wars in every single sort of layer of entertainment and politics, and like kind of infecting everything, and everything being outrageous and absurd, is a great way to distract people from doing solidarity, mutual aid. I definitely encourage people to go to their like local communities, see what is happening, how people are helping each other. Uh, if you can, we know that some people have like school or jobs that make them very very tired. Some people even watch our stream from work sometimes. Uh, some people don't have a lot of room in their life for activism and mutual aid, but I say try to fit it in where you can. We've seen even stuff where local groups will have uh, like streams of events and what they're doing for people who can't necessarily make it. There's some attempt to accommodate people in terms of like activism stuff. I think a lot of people in responding to what is happening right now, especially in regards to the the trans healthcare ban with Medicaid, is like people being like, call your representatives and tell them, uh, to not back this, and to put pressure on them. And I'm not fully, I'm not fully, um, I'm not optimistic at all that that is the way forward necessarily, but uh, was it diversity of tactics, I guess. Um, but I also wanted to say that again that things aren't hopeless and we can't give up. Um, and that's why I want to like parse through this, talk about it and understand, so people aren't just looking at headlines and just feeling really really bad. I know that people's material lives are already stressed to the breaking point in some cases. Being food secure, being housing secure is really hard, uh, and has been hard. Um, like tariffs and stuff making prices go up. Uh, a lot of people are less able to afford basic necessities, and like layoffs in big companies mean a lot more people are unemployed, and there's not enough jobs. Um, I mean, we haven't looked at the economics of it. Like, I don't know what like the American unemployment rate is right now, for example. But like even just paying attention to like video game news, we obviously constantly notice like video game studio closures and massive layoffs and payoffs of like and bonuses to CEOs of major companies and leaving people out to dry and without a way to support their families. It's everywhere. Is DIY illegal? Depends on where you live. Uh, Depends on what country you're in, I guess. There's a lot of gray markets. I can't actively tell you where those are, but there are places and ways. It is very legal to get blood work done though. I can tell you that off the bat because that's one of the major things of like that people who do DIY have to worry about with like in regards to their levels. You have to be able to send your blood to a lab for checking your levels so you're not like too high or too low so you can adjust your dose as things change for you. But for a lot of people, paying like the pharmaceutical costs out of pocket is just not feasible. I'm trying my best in spite of the stuff's happening in the world and the stuff's happening in my personal life. Yeah, I feel that everything keeps happening at once, you know? Let's start with the errand in the morning thingy. So in regards to the trans healthcare part, so we can understand that part of the stakes. House spending bill now bans Medicaid for transition care for adults. The provision was stricken late at night to appeal to hardline conservatives. This was May 22nd, which was yesterday. Late Wednesday night, on as the House debated Trump's sweeping tax and spending bill, which will shape the federal government's priorities for the coming year, Republican leaders made a last-minute concession to the party's hard right flank, expanding a provision banning Medicaid funds for transgender youth to now include all transgender people, regardless of age. The move marks a significant and unprecedented escalation, effectively the first major federal effort to restrict access to transition-related care for adults. It also confirms what many transgender advocates had long warned, what some GOP operatives have candidly admitted. The endgame isn't protecting children, it's banning care for everyone. The manager's amendment came late Wednesday night and changed a previous ban on gender transition procedures for minors. Notably, gender transition procedures defined to include hormone therapy. See the following precision from the bill. Specified gender transition procedures, defined in Section 1905 of the Social Security Act 42 U.S.C. 1396D, is amended by adding the end of the following new submission. KK specified gender transition procedures. 1. In general, for the purposes of Section 1903 I-28, except as provided in paragraph 2, the term specified gender transition procedure means with respect to the individual any of the following when performed for the purpose of intentionally changing the body of such individual, including by disrupting the body's development, inhibiting its natural functions, or modifying its appearance, to no longer correspond to the individual's sex, testosterone, estrogen, or other androgens to an individual at doses that are super physiologic that would normally be produced endogenously in a healthy individual of the same age and sex. The manager's amendment reportedly included to win back support from hardline conservatives after concessions were made to the party's more moderate wing, dramatically expands the scope of Medicaid ban on transgender care. What was initially a restriction targeting gender-affirming care for minors now extends to transgender people of all ages for the amendment language here. Page 333, line 3, strike for minors. Page 333, line 14, strike under 18 years of age. The policy change could have devastating consequences for transgender people across the United States and is likely to clash with state laws that mandate insurance coverage for gender affirming care. According to the UCLA Williams Institute, more than 152,000 transgender Americans currently rely on Medicaid for their care. Stripping that coverage could make surgeries cost prohibitive for many, with procedures often running into the tens of thousands of dollars. Even routine hormone therapy and necessary blood work could become financially out of reach. For countless trans adults, this would mean either turning to unsafe alternative care or being forcibly taken off of treatment, a process known as medical detransition. The effects can be severe, particularly for those who have already gone surgery that require ongoing hormone supplementation, putting both mental and physical health at serious risk. While shocking in its scope, the ban on Medicaid funding for transgender adults has been telegraphed for some time. Aaron in the Morning was the first to report a leaked audio recording of Republican lawmakers from multiple states openly discussing their intent to ban transgender healthcare for everyone, explicitly including adults. The wave of legislation targeting transgender youth, athletes, and school policies was never the endgame. It was the opening act. According to Bloomberg, the House vote on the full bill could come as soon as Thursday. So yeah, it's not saying it's basically the government saying the government funds can't go towards a gender transition. Um, I'm assuming this would not be the end of anti-trans laws. It will only escalate. But there's so much to this thing, and the fact that and where is it? It's actually um this act may be cited as the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. This is real. They named it that. I thought it was a headline of just a quote Trump had said. And yet, just wow. Hey Fizzle, how are you? I'm on fire. I'm incandescent. I am a will-o-wisp right now. I am not going through this 1,118 page thing. But wow, that is a lot of pages. That is a lot of pages. I mean, it's like a spending bill. It's not just about healthcare. I see there's stuff about schools. This is the thing about health. Uh, yeah. Wow. This is still just the like the index, the like the sections broken up. Like this is I see some immigration stuff in here. Promoting family unity. Huh. Coal royalty. Hmm. Interesting. Offshore oil and gas leasing. Taking money out of infrastructure and environmental protections. That's great. Uh, Instead of just staring at the wall of text, let's go to a smaller wall of text. I mean, this could have been called the Draconian Bill for Saruman stance. Pretty sure is the way it is because the Democrats have to sign a budget or the government collapses. So, MAGA staple all of their bullshit onto it. Yeah, as it happens, because they have a lot of control, and Democrats are also cowards, just in general. Uh, Trump's quote beautiful bill spans more than 1,000 pages. Here's what's inside it. This is from the Associated Press. House. Oh, wait. What was this? Updated May 21st. Updated 2 days ago. Okay. House Republicans are getting closer to passing President Donald Trump's tax breaks, spending cuts, and beefed up border security as Speaker Mike Johnson attempts to pass the package over unified Democratic opposition by Memorial Day. House committees have labored for months on the legislation, which exceeds 1,000 pages and is titled the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, a nod to Trump himself. GOP divisions have narrowed but continue as fiscal conservatives worry that the bill doesn't do enough to curb Medicaid spending, while Republicans from competitive swing districts have expressed concerns about the prospect of their constituents losing access to health coverage and food assistance for constituents. Right, because it also affects food stamps. Democrats say that they will fight what House Party leader Hakeem Jeffries called this extreme and toxic bill. Here's a look at what's in and out of the legislative package so far. Tax cuts for individuals and businesses. Republicans look to make permanent individual income and estate tax cuts pass in Trump's first term in 2017, plus enact promises he made on the 2024 campaign trail to not tax tips, overtime, and interest in some auto loans. To particularly offset the lost revenue, Republicans propose repealing or phasing out more quickly the clean energy tax credits passed during Joe Biden's presidency, helping to bring down the overall cost of the tax portion to about $3.8 trillion. The bill includes a temporary boost in the standard deduction, a $1,000 increase for individuals, bringing it to 16,000 for individual filers and 2,000 boosts for joint filers, bringing it up to 32,000. The deduction reduces the amount of income that is actually subject to income tax. There is also a temporary $500 increase in the child tax credit, bringing to $2,500 for 2025 through 2028. And then returns to 2,000 will increase to account for inflation. The estate tax exemption raises to $15 million and is adjusted for inflation going forward. One of the thorniest issues in its negotiations has been how much to raise the state and local tax deduction, now capped at 10,000. That's been a priority of New York lawmakers. A tentative agreement has been reached to increase that SALT cap to 40,000 for income up to 500,000 dollars, with the cap phasing downward for those with higher incomes. Yeah, because rich people are treated better under a tax system. 2 Democrats voted for it. Oh, that's not surprising. I see. 2 Republicans voted against it. I mean, it was like a matter of like one vote, I believe, that it even passed. Several of the provisions Trump's promised in the campaign would be temporary, lasting roughly through his term in office. The tax breaks for tips, overtime, and car loan interest expire at the end of 2028. That's also the case for a $4,000 increase in the standard deduction for seniors. Among the various business tax provisions, small businesses, including partnership and S corporations, will be able to subtract 23% of their qualified business incomes for their taxes. The deduction has been 20%. Business will temporarily be allowed to fully expense domestic research and development costs in the year they occur and the cost of machinery, equipment, and other qualifying assets. This encourages businesses to invest in ways that enhance their productivity. Parents and older Americans force work requirements for food assistance. House Republicans will reduce spending on food aid, what is known as the Supplemental Nutrition and Assistance Program, SNAP, by about 267 billion over 10 years. States will shoulder 5% of benefit costs beginning in the fiscal year 2028 and 75% of the administrative costs. Currently, states pay none of the benefit and half of the administration costs. Republicans are also expanding the work requirements to receive food aid. Under current law, able-bodied adults without dependents must fulfill work requirements until they're 54, and that would change under the bill to age 64. Also, some parents are currently exempt from work requirements until their children are 18. That would change, so only those caring for a dependent child under the age of 7 are exempt. A lot of people actually are dependent on food stamps to live. Even notably from some industries. I believe the commercial pilot strike of what was it, 2 years ago? One of the things that the pilots were saying was that it is very common for pilots to have to be on food stamps, even if they work essentially full time. A lot of people are underpaid, and inflation and and tariffs. So it only gets worse. Republicans are also expanding the work requirements to receive food aid. Under current law, able-bodied adults without dependents will fulfill work requirements until they're 54, and that would change until under the bill to age 64. Also, some parents are currently exempt from work requirements until their children are 18, and that would change so only those caring for a dependent child under the age of 7 are exempt. And new work requirements for Medicaid. A focal point of the package is nearly $700 billion in reduced spending in the Medicaid program, according to CBO. To be eligible for Medicaid, there would be new community engagement requirements of at least 80 hours per month of work, education, or service for able-bodied adults without dependents. The new requirement would not kick in until January 1st, 2029, after Trump leaves office. People will also have to verify their eligibility for the program twice a year, rather than just once. We always lose our benefits for a little bit at the start of each year because of how they regularly will ask for their requirements for the year through the mail at such a pace that by the time that we get it, the date for turning in the paperwork is already passed. We talked about this with the business office of the clinic we go to, and they actually said that that's very common for people on Medicaid and having to jump through extra hoops to get back on it every year, which means that if this goes through, that just getting on Medicaid for the average person is going to be a lot harder, and they'll have to do more proving that they're eligible than they used to, which may mean more breaks in them being covered. I'm pretty sure that's a feature, not a bug. Hello, Greedra. The focal point of the package is nearly a $700 billion reduced spending in the Medicaid program, according to CBO. To be eligible for Medicaid, there would be a new community engagement requirements of at least 8 hours of work per month of work, education or service for able-bodied adults without dependents. The new requirement will not kick in until January 1st, 2029, after Trump leaves office. People will also have to verify the eligibility for the program twice a year rather than just once. Republicans are looking to generate savings with new work requirements, but Democrats warn that millions of Americans will lose coverage. And an estimate from nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office said the proposals would reduce the number of people with health care by at least 7.6 million from the Medicaid changes, and possibly more with other changes to the Affordable Care Act. No tax on gun silencers, no money for Planned Parenthood, and more. Oh gosh, I have to rub my temples on this at this. Switching over to phone, I must walk to the post office to deliver a very important letter. Good luck on your very important letter. Republicans are also using the package to reward allies and disadvantage political foes. The package will eliminate a $200 tax on gun silencers that has existed since Congress passed the National Firearms Act in 1934. The elimination of the tax is supported by the NRA. The group Giffords, which works to reduce gun violence, says silencers make it more difficult to recognize the sound of gunfire and locate the source of gunshots. I mean, that's literally what they're designed for. Yes. Impairing the ability of law enforcement to respond to active shooters. I wonder why that might be important to some people. Republicans are also looking to prohibit Medicaid funds from going to Planned Parenthood, which provides abortion care. Democrats say defending the organization could make it harder for millions of patients to get cancer screenings, pap tests, and birth control. Birth control. Birth control is also under attack, not just like abortion rates. Everyone's shit is under attack. I hope that folks can stay safe as well. Ugh. It is really insanely depressing of seeing the state of things, and even the bill passing by such a small margin feels telling. MAGA kids $1,000 savings accounts? MAGA is shorthand for Trump's signature line, Make America Great Again. But in this case, it means money accounts for growth and advancement. For parents or guardians who open new MAGA accounts for their children, the federal government will contribute $1,000 for babies born between January 1st, 2024 and January 31st, 2028. Families can add $5,000 a year, with the account holders unable to take distributions before age 18. They could then access up to 50% of the money to pay for higher education, training, and first-time home purchases. At age 30, account holders have access to the full balance of the account for any purpose. I don't know what to say. That's weird parents' rights shit and being like, have more kids. Incentivizing people to have more kids. Because, of course, we need more workers, obviously. Funding for Trump's mass deportation operation. The legislation would provide $4.6 billion to revive construction of Trump's wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. Oh, so it has the wall that we have to pay for. And more money for the deportation agenda. There's a $4 billion to hire an additional 3,000 new Border Patrol agents, as well as 5,000 new customs officers, and $2.1 billion for signing and retention bonuses. There's also funds for 10,000 more immigration and customs enforcement officers and investigators. It includes major changes to immigration policy, imposing a $1,000 fee on migrants seeking asylum, something the nation has never done, putting it on par with few others, including Australia and Iran. Overall, the plan is to remove 1 million immigrants annually. Sorry. And house 100,000 people in detention centers. It was reported in the news yesterday, actually, that the bill has an update to rename MAGA accounts as Trump accounts. Oh, thanks. I appreciate the extra information. GOP renames $1,000 per baby MAGA accounts to Trump accounts. House Republicans made a last-minute change to $1,000 per baby MAGA accounts in their sweeping tax bill, calling them Trump accounts instead. Why it matters. It's the latest in a series of attempts by congressional Republicans to display their loyalty to the president through legislation, and the one that is most likely to be signed into law. House Republicans have introduced bills to put Trump on the $100 bill, rename Dulles International Airport after him, and allow him to run for a third term. That's dictatorship. Give me your poor, your tired, your huddled masses, and charge them $1,000 they probably don't have to not enter. 2027, and they make Trump the Redeemer statue in the middle of the country. We're gonna, I think we're gonna be like in a, Bioshock Infinite sort of hellscape soon enough. Well, except for the being in the sky. Well, I guess Trump will be in the sky because he got the flying palace or whatever. Putting his name on everything. Not a supervillain trait at all. I happen to be from this city that has the tower that is named after him, and I hate it. I hate it so much. We are living in Captain Planet. We're living in a world of Captain Planet villains, but no Captain Planet. Republicans have also pushed to codify his proposed land grabs with bills allowing him to negotiate the purchases of Greenland and the Panama Canal. One proposed renaming Greenland to Red, White, and Blue Land. Driving the news, House Republicans tucked the renaming into the 11th hour amendment to their One Big Beautiful Bill, a hulking fiscal package to extend the Trump tax cuts and cut $1.5 trillion in spending. House Speaker Mike Johnson is moving to hold a vote on the package as early as Thursday morning after GOP hardliners softened their opposition on Wednesday. The Trump accounts would seed $1,000 for every American baby born starting in 2026. The original name, MAGA, stood for Money Account for Growth and Advancement. The other side, Democrats railed against a late-stage change at a Rules Committee hearing on the amendment. You all would be screaming blatant murder if we named saving accounts after Barack Obama, said Representative Joe Negles. Said Rep. Mari Gay Scanlon, why don't we call it the Trump diaper savings? It could be TDS, because I think that's the only way you end up with a stupid name like this if you have TDS. Catching strays. Remember, a lot of this sort of absurdist nonsense is to drown out the really dark and power grabby stuff. Yeah. They try to be as divisive as possible to draw ire and attention to that, so you don't see the other stuff. The fact that they renamed it doesn't change anything about what it is. House Republican on Thursday introduced a proposed change to the Constitution that would allow President Trump to seek a third term in office. The amendment has virtually no chance of becoming ratified, but it is a marker of the depths of fealty the new president enjoys within the House GOP. Republican House members have rushed to introduce bills that would codify Trump's vision for expanding the U.S. borders by acquiring Greenland and the Panama Canal, for instance. The measure is an extreme long shot. It would need 2/3 in a vote in both chambers of Congress and be ratified by 38 states to be added to the Constitution. Driving the news, Representative Andy Olgus said Thursday he is introducing a 2-page joint resolution to amend the 22nd Amendment, which sets the current two-term limit for presidents. August's amendment would allow any president to serve a third term if their first two terms were not non-consecutive. The text of the amendment would still prohibit a third term if the first two were consecutive, prohibiting former President Bush, Obama, and Clinton from running again, or a third full term of anyone who has served more than 2 years of someone else's term. What they're saying is imperative we provide President Trump with every resource necessary to correct the disastrous course set by the Biden administration, Olga said in a statement. He has declined to restoring the republic and saving our country, and we as legislators and as states will do everything in our power to support. August is a member of the Trump-aligned House Freedom Caucus who introduced legislation to allow him to negotiate a purchase of Greenland. The other side, August also faces a potential House Ethics Committee investigation for his campaign finances, as one House Democrat who sits in the committee that considers constitutional amendments noted. I don't think he wants to talk about the campaign finance fraud that he's accused of, and would like us instead to focus on what a committed Trump sycophant he is, said Representative Becca Blaylant, a Judiciary Committee member. Truly pathetic. Voters from Treasury deserve much better, she said. Representative Steve Cohen, another Judiciary member, told Atians 2 terms is enough chaos for any nation to endure. I wasn't even done reading the Associated Press thing. Liberals love trying to get fascists into. I don't think anyone's gonna come and save us, Fizzle. We have to save ourselves. I keep thinking about the fact about that most establishment liberals go off at Trump running and then go off at Project 2025. Yeah. The understatement of the subsequent legislative obliteration. Don't worry, any world where the third term thing happens is when Trump has already absolute power. Amendments are almost impossible to change. I just feel echoes of all the times that this thing totally won't go this way. Oh no, Project 2025 totally won't happen. That's not real. Oh no, Trump won't win a second term. That is nothing to worry about. He'll go to jail. Oh, you know what? Donald Trump is running for president. You know, it's impossible for him to actually win. I mean, I know you're being sarcastic, but also, fucking Christ. We mentioned this in the Discord server. We understand that this is a very, very, very heavy topic. I do want to say survival is resistance as well. Like, you know, for us marginalized folks, for us folks that are having our, like, you know, our what little we do have in terms of a safety net stripped from us, like, it's scary. And when I say, like, you know, no one's coming to save us, I mean that, like, we have to, like, communicate with each other. We have to, like, make allies, figure out where other people are who want to survive together. I mean, like, talking about leftism and anarchism and like community building is, like, I guess for a lot of folks, especially very online folks, it feels like a pipe dream, something that you don't have access to, and especially if you don't have a lot of ways to get around. Like, if you don't have a lot of funds, if you don't drive, if you have to rely on other people to get around, then we do recognize that you are gonna be limited in what you can do. We've seen a lot of people be hopeless lately, we worry about friends, loved ones, our viewers, our community. We worry about you all like we worry about like the people closest to us, like we worry about ourselves. Um, it's totally okay for anyone to bow out for now. We're not gonna be talking about this for the entire stream, but we are gonna be talking about this for some time longer. Shit, we're not even a full hour into stream yet. Uh, but for the folks that are here and staying here with me and like witnessing and seeing what's on offer for what's happening. Thanks for being here, and yeah, this is unacceptable and tragic. I don't think I've ever gotten that compliment specifically, but thank you. Gosh. I didn't expect that euphoria right now. However, welcome to our very troubling stream. Thank you, Taurus. Oh wait, it's 2/3 of both the Senate and the House, which is much more likely. You can do it the other way, but the only time it's ever even remotely feasible was when they repealed prohibition. Hmm. I like to think that certain things can't easily change, but a lot of things that I didn't think would happen within my lifetime or at all have happened within like the last 10 years. So I'm not ruling it out, especially as we dive deeper into fascism. What's the reverse of the sky's the limit? Uh, Hell's the limit? The molten core of the earth? Anyway, funding for Trump's mass deportation operation. The legislation would provide 46.5 billion to revive construction of Trump's wall along the US-Mexico border and more money for the deportation agenda. There's 4 billion to hire an additional 3,000 new border patrol agents. There's 5,000 new customs officers and 2.1 billion for signing and retention bonuses. There's also funds for 10,000 more immigration and customs enforcement officers and investigators. Oh, that's where all the jobs are going. These are all the homegrown jobs, everybody. All the homegrown jobs are in immigration enforcement and deporting people and being the boot. More boots. It includes major changes to immigration policy, imposing a $1,000 fee on migrants seeking asylum, something the nation has never done, putting it on par with a few others, including Australia and Iran. Overall, the plans to remove 1 million immigrants annually and house 100,000 people in detention centers. More money for the Pentagon and Trump's Golden Dome. Oh, they actually put that in here. If you don't know about the Golden Dome, it's like the thing that... Oh gosh. Oh gosh. I a golden dome for America. I guess this is the I guess having a dome to protect from missiles from all the places that you're oppressing is starting to be a regular thing. Um Oh gosh, the Zionists have their own dome. It's not made of gold, but like Hamas is like shot missiles right, and they just hit a fucking barrier, like they're throwing rocks against a fucking cage, and it's like they can just shrug it off. And Trump wants the same thing, and it to be made of gold. That's kind of the long and short of it. More money for the Pentagon. Trump's Golden Dome. There's also nearly 150 billion in new money for the Defense Department and national security. It would provide 25 billion for Trump's Golden Dome for America, a long-envisioned missile defense shield. 21 billion to restock the nation's ammunition arsenal, 34 billion to expand the naval fleet with more shipbuilding, and some 5 billion for border security. It also includes 9 billion for service member quality of life related issues, including housing, healthcare, and special pay. Wow, and this breakdown isn't over. It's still like, okay, it's two more things, but I mean, I have a feeling that this is like still very simplified and truncated because again, this thing has 1,000 fucking pages. I'm dying. Taurus, we got this voice through voice training. We didn't do any surgeries. It wasn't because of HRT. If you can put in the time, and it doesn't even have to be necessarily every day, you can definitely get a more euphoric voice. And you can shape it yourself. It's like learning to draw almost. It definitely isn't easy. I'm not gonna say that it is, but I definitely think that you can have a voice that you like. And thank you, but also passing isn't everything. um I never really think of my voice as passing, to be honest. Not to say that I think of it as like a super masculine voice or something, but I also like the ways that I think about my gender and how that affects my voice has to do with like the spirit of the person that I want to be, as well as my gender. Like weird gender tangent, but us getting into like fey fair pronouns had a lot to do with like how we like to think of our gender as like magical being, like our sort of fascination with like fae and fairy folk certainly has an influence on stuff. We have a queer sense in that way. And it is interesting of being non-binary but also being trans femme and like valuing a certain amount of like androgyny, but also like wanting to be a weird girl shaped thing, um and I think about how far we've come and how far other people have come and will continue to go. I'm thinking about all the bad things that are happening right now, but there's a lot of people still wanting to be here and be their best selves, and we're trying to be our best self. It was kind of hard to get up this morning knowing what we were about to stream about. Um, but despite everything, I love being trans. I so love being trans. I don't know. I can't overstate that. We are going to get through this. It's gonna be tough, but we're gonna get through this. I think. Stormtrooper grunt jobs. Yeah. Oh, and this is a big reason why you should also oppose cop cities or cop city adjacent projects in your area, because cop cities will probably be used to train these immigration task forces. Oh yeah, the construction on the wall didn't stop even under Biden. Oh hey Dale, how's it going? We're talking about depressing current events. There's no, they aren't literally domes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not like Big O. It's not like Big O. The Iron Dome is a network of drones that can sit down small RPGs and missiles fired at Israel. America not only has better defenses, but a network of drones would be incredibly inefficient over the amount of area to be defended. Oh, so it's just a flats? It's just a flats? I mean, with this government, how could it not be a flats, right? How are we all? I am livid. I am completely livid. I am living through history, and I don't have enough room in my heart to be scared at the moment. I was scared yesterday, but today I'm just I'm activated. I mean, I have anger, but it's not taking up every fiber of my being. If I was to say, like, anger and malice fill every semiconductor and fiber of my being, that would not be true. It would definitely be at least a third, though. I'm filled with a third amount of anger and two other things. Girl shaped things. Understand. Thank you. There's also a convenient location to detain large numbers of people, I think. Hmm. The Golden Dome couldn't work no matter how much money is poured into it. It's just a dictator pet project. Yeah, a dictator pet project is funded by our tax dollars. Tax dollars are actively taking out of Medicaid. It's like, oh, our own citizens can die, so we can have more guns and bullets and a cool golden drone network. Tax on university endowments and overhaul student loans. A wholesale revamping of the student loan program is key to the legislation, providing 330 billion in budget cuts and savings. The proposal will replace all existing and student loan repayment plans with just two: a standard option with monthly payments spread out over 10 to 25 years, and a repayment assistance plan that is generally less generous than those it will replace. Among other changes, the bill would repeal Biden-era regulations that made it easier for borrowers to get loans and canceled if their colleges defrauded them or closed suddenly. There'd be a tax increase up to 21% on some university endowments. Uh, so going in the opposite direction of what people are asking Biden for like student loan forgiveness, just make it worse. Just make it worse. More drilling and mining on public lands. To generate revenue, one section will allow increased leasing of public lands for drilling, mining, and logging while clearing the path for more development by speeding up government approvals. Royalty rates paid by companies to extract oil, gas, and coal could be cut, reversing Biden's attempts to curb fossil fuels to help address climate change. In a last-minute ad, Republicans also included a provision authorizing the sales of hundreds of thousands of acres of public lands in Nevada and Utah, prompting outrage from Democrats and environmentalists. Wow, they're just pissing off everybody. They're so good at that. He looks like such a husk. Okay, so apparently it's not just gonna affect Medicaid. Apparently it's also gonna affect some employment based insurance, I think. But let's read here. This is something that I believe was one of the sources that Aaron from Aaron in the Morning used, I believe. Or it may have been connected to a different person who was covering it. What is this? New rule proposes changes to ACA coverage of gender affirming care, potentially increasing costs for customers. On March 10th, CMS issued a proposed rule that seeks to change how plans sold on and off the affordable. Oh, sorry, ACA is Affordable Care Act, but that's more Medicaid. Let's see. Affordable Care Act marketplaces. Plans for individuals and small businesses would cover gender affirming care services. What's the rule calls coverage for a sex trait modification. it it feels so sterile, but also kind of like accusatory. The rule proposes beginning plan in the year of 2026 to prohibit insurers from covering gender affirming care as an essential health benefit, EHB, which could lead insurers to drop coverage or shift costs to individuals and states. Okay, so they're basically putting pressure to for companies to not cover like gender affirming care. What is Cop City? Oh, Cop City. Oh god, that could be a whole ass stream. Okay, so oh my god. Uh okay. I think the crispest concisest way I could say it is Cop City uh or Cop Cities are huge training facilities for law enforcement that is basically taken a model of like sort of riot counter basically all the fucked up shit you see at like protests that have a like a militarized response to them. Stuff like kettling people, tear gassing large swaths of people using fire hoses with like fucking mace or other chemicals, and just doing things that would damage people in disruption of protests. And just the general use of more militarized or harder forms of institutional policing. Um, Basically, giant training grounds to train like police forces or I suppose law enforcement related forces that use that training to brutalize largely civilians. Um, I believe Israel is building a cop city. The cop city that I remember being the one that brought awareness to the issue that people were trying to prevent them from being built was in Atlanta. And it is part of just a larger initiative to train more law enforcement, and of course, in this case, in the context of what we're talking about, uh, like immigration officers and like border patrol agents and people who fucking go into your house in the middle of the night and put a bag over your head and send you to El Salvador. City size internal anti civilian army creation plants. Yeah, thanks. You really put it that banger tweet. There's issues about the cop cities even existing, as they usually are built near low income neighborhoods on the wilderness areas and shit. I mean, they have taken old schools, like places that the government has reclaimed land from, where people are going bankrupt and stuff. Uh, Places where like low income housing could have been also. I don't think any cop city that's planned in America has finished. But like a lot of a decent amount of government funds goes towards that. In terms of like self, sorry, is government defense, weapons and defense budgeting. I think that there are people who use like not a giant spoon, but what like a like trash can lids and stuff like that, um, or like a sort of actually a sort of you saying spoon actually reminds me of like having a concave uh like a surface. Some people can have that as a shield, and it might redirect. I would imagine in Minecraft. Essential health benefits. The ACA requires non-grandfathered individual and small group health plans to cover a package of EHBs, which must be equal to the scope of benefits provided under a typical employer plan, are protected by cost-sharing limits. They count towards a plan's accrual level as defined in the law. EHB packages vary by state and must include 10 categories of benefits. To date, there have been very few specific services issuers are prohibited from covering within EHBs. Prohibited services have included abortion, non pediatric dental or eye exam service, long term nursing care, or non medically necessary orthodontia. I mean, it is already really hard to get dental and eye coverage. That's already been an issue, so wow, just making it worse. States vary in their EHB benchmark plans, treat gender affirming care with some explicitly covering or excluding, and others not explicitly stating a coverage policy. Additionally, separate from EHB benchmark selection, some states have their own mandated benefits, which can include gender affirming services, and 24 states and Washington, D.C. prohibit exclusions for transgender related care. Well, that's good. I guess. While that lasts. If that lasts. While the policy aimed for the proposed rule aligns with the administration's executive orders on gender and limiting access to gender affirming care, certain provisions of these orders are currently subject to preliminary injunctions, and the agency states that the proposal does not rely on the enjoined sections of the executive orders in making this proposal. Instead, the CMS writes that they're proposing the plans and the HB must be equal in scope to the typical. Wait, I lost my place. CMS writes that they are proposing the prohibition of the prohibition because the coverage of such trait modification is not typically included in employer-sponsored plans. An EHB must be equal in scope to a typical employer plan. CMS does not provide support for this assertion, instead stating that they find that 0.11% of enrollees in non-grandfathered individual and small group coverage market plans utilize such trait modification during PYs 2022 and 2023. Utilization of gender affirming care services is explicitly low in the population overall because only a small share of the population is transgender, and not all transgender people seek gender affirming medical care. Further, utilization of a service may be a poor proxy for how commonly it is covered. There are other cases where a small share of the population uses a service that is generally covered by insurance. For example, there are fewer than 5,000 heart transplants in the US in 2023, equaling 1/10,000th of a percentage of the population, but public and commercial insurance typically covers this service. Yeah, that makes sense. I've heard some people talking about how gender affirming care as the phrasing was bad and led to this, as opposed to like something that sounds more life-saving, because people think that it's not medicalized enough, and they think it sounds more about like vanity or something. At least that's a vibe I'm getting. Sounds sort of Puritan to me, but at the end of the day, I don't think that the way that the trans healthcare is phrased in legal jargon is resulting in what's happening right now. As much as people want to be able to point to a thing and blame that, especially in a backbiting way, of like having too nice or too affirming of language, that we needed everything to be valid, all the stuff that they complain about with millennials and participation trophy type shit. um I mean, between that and certain Democrats after Trump won being like, oh, by appealing to trans rights, we divided voters too much. Like, it's insane how few allies we actually have. I guess we'll keep going. Coverage of gender affirming care services and employer plans is fairly common. KFF's 2024 Employer Health Benefits Survey found that about one quarter, 24% of large employers, 200 or more workers, stated they covered gender affirming hormone therapy. A plurality of respondents did not know if they covered these services, 45%, and less than one third, 31%, did not offer coverage. The largest firms in the country, 5,000 or more workers, employ 33% of the people with job based on coverage and were significantly more likely to report covering hormone therapy in their largest plan. 50% offered coverage. 18% did not know. In 2023, KFF's Employer Health Benefits Survey found a similar trend relating to gender affirming surgery among large employers, 200 or more workers, offering health benefits. 23% provide coverage for gender affirming surgery in their largest health plan, with 40% indicating that they did not know. More than 60% of the largest firms provide coverage for gender affirming surgery, and 12% did not know. While both services, there was uncertainty among employers over the details of the coverage. Many large employers provided coverage. 2022 data from Mercer and 2025 data on Fortune 500 company coverage from HRC. I believe that's a human rights campaign. Corporate Equality Index. Yeah, human rights campaign. Found as KFF did, the coverage rates are particularly high among the largest employers where most U.S. workers are covered. If implemented, the proposal would likely have an impact on access and costs for individuals and states. Some plans might drop coverage, while plans could cover gender affirming services outside of their EHB package. Okay, so yeah, I wasn't sure, but I think we can see that it's not just going to affect Medicaid, but what certain insurances that you get through work, or that maybe your parents or maybe your significant other or spouse might get through working, how that may make your prices go up if it's even covered, because some companies may drop coverage altogether. That is a very real possibility. Implemented, the proposal will likely have an impact on access and cost of individuals and states. Some plans might drop coverage, while others will cover gender affirming services outside of their EHB package. Customers will not be assured the same cost sharing and benefit design protections as for services included in the EHB package. Costs accrued for gender affirming care would not be required to count towards deductibles or out of pocket maximums, and would not be protected from lifetime limits, increasing out of pocket liability given that transgender people are more likely to be living on lower incomes than cisgender people. Higher costs could pose a particular challenge. Increases in and out of pocket costs would likely deter enrollees from accessing gender affirming care services, which are medically necessary and recommended by practically every major U.S. medical association. States, including about half that prohibit transgender care related exclusions, could also be faced with defraying the cost of covering these services under certain scenarios. The proposal states that if any state separately mandates coverage for sex trait modification outside of its EHB benchmark plan, the state would be required to defray the cost of that state mandated benefit, as it would be considered in addition to EHB. However, if any such state does not separately mandate coverage of sex trait modification outside of its EHB benchmark plan, there would be no deferral obligation. The proposal also raises questions about whether the policy would violate the ACA's major sets non-discrimination protections under Section 1557. Section 1557 protects against sets and other discrimination in healthcare, and while the Trump administration has suggested that it will view these protections based on biological sets assigned at birth only, courts can and have said that those protections extend to sexual orientation and gender identity. This interpretation also differs from the opinion issued by the Supreme Court in the Bostock case, which found employment sets-based non-discrimination protections extend to sexual orientation and gender identity. End notes. The proposed rule does not define such trait modification, but references definition of chemical and surgical mutilation. Fun. Using the Trump administration's executive order protecting children from chemical and surgical mutilation, which includes the use of puberty blockers, sex hormones, and surgical procedures to affirm an individual's gender identity that differs from the sets assigned at birth. And since 1999, KFF's Employer Health Benefits Survey has collected nationally representative information on the cost and coverage of employer-sponsored plans. When it rains, it pours, huh? Well, I feel like I'm carrying several boulders now. You're welcome. You were saying you're thanking me for putting those boulders on you, right? This is the UCLA thing that Aaron in the morning mentioned. 152,000 transgender adults are enrolled in Medicaid. So you can get a picture of that. I know people who have literally said that they are very upset about this bill going through because they weren't even on hormones yet. Actually, mentioning my own HRT status, like the clinic we go to has talked about like having grandfathered in patients, but like won't be accepting new patients for HRT stuff, which is as much as they can do, I guess. But also they're preparing for it in advance, even though it hasn't passed yet. Hopefully it won't, but I don't know. It's not looking good. It's not looking good, chat. More than half lack guaranteed access to coverage for gender affirming care under state law. I'm assuming this isn't new news to anyone in chat. I would imagine that this is kind of a no-brainer. That trans people are poor on average. Over 150,000 transgender adults are enrolled in Medicaid in the U.S., according to a new analysis by the Williams Institute at UCLA School of Law. 18 states and D.C. have chosen to specifically include coverage for gender-affirming care under their Medicaid programs or in the process of extending coverage, while 12 states exclude coverage for such care and 20 states have not expressly addressed coverage. Gender-affirming care includes a range of services such as surgical procedures, hormone therapy, and other forms of treatment related to gender transition. I mean, that probably also includes stuff like laser hair removal or electrolysis hair removal. Or maybe even voice coaching. Fun fact, we have never paid for any of the voice training that we have done to ourselves. Key findings. 4 million adults in the U.S. identify as transgender, and approximately 152,000 of them are enrolled in Medicaid. Fewer than half, 69,000, of transgender Medicaid beneficiaries live in states with express policies guaranteeing coverage to gender-affirming care. For 51,000 transgender Medicaid beneficiaries, coverage is uncertain because they live in states where the laws are silent on coverage for gender-affirming care. An estimated 32,000 transgender Medicaid beneficiaries live in states with express bans that deny access to covered gender-affirming care. This patchwork of protections creates uncertainty for transgender people who are enrolled in Medicaid, said study co-author Christy Mallory, State of Local Policy Director at the Williams Institute. Absent further policy changes in the states that bans or lack clear language addressing coverage, many transgender people in the U.S. will continue to face obstacles when seeking health care just because of where they live. Yeah, there's a lot of like places where if you want to get gender affirming care, you have to like travel outside of your state or damn near to get to the nearest place that can provide it, especially affordably. Additional policy changes in states that have had bans are like clear language addressing coverage will ensure that all transgender Medicaid beneficiaries nationwide have access to coverage for necessary medical care. There's more to it, but I don't want to go that deep into rabbit hole. Medicaid coverage for gender affirming care. This is the full report actually. So yeah, I'm not gonna read that, but I do think I had a link in the YouTube description. I guess I should also share this in the Discord. Um, okay, we have a trans advocacy organization talking about what's happening. So to break it down a little bit further, but I don't know if there's going to be redundancies here. I guess we'll see. The Trump administration is trying to change insurance requirements so they can deprive trans people of health care that we need. So that's the administration to get their hands off our health care. The Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services has proposed a rule that would prohibit states from requiring coverage for gender affirming care as part of their essential health benefits under the Affordable Care Act. This means that starting in plan year 2026, states could no longer require ACA marketplace individual and small group insurance plans to cover puberty blockers, hormone therapy, or gender affirming surgeries as essential benefits. While state law non-discrimination laws requiring coverage of this care will remain in effect, this would prohibit states such as Colorado and Vermont from enforcing their trans-inclusive EHBs and would stop other states from clarifying their own essential benefits coverage. This change would severely limit access to medically necessary care for transgender people, potentially treating barriers to coverage and treatment even in states that are already working to protect their trans residents. Essentially, there is an effort by the Trump administration to change insurance requirements so they can deprive trans people of the care that we need. Tell this administration to get their hands off our health care. I'm assuming this is like a call line or something. Oh, there's just comments? Interesting. What does the proposed rules do? Bans gender affirming cares and essential health benefits, strips DACA recipients of healthcare coverage as new unnecessary barriers to enrollment in ACA plans, disproportionately affecting trans people, makes it harder for low income people to access subsidized care. Why is this important? Trans people have fought for decades to access medical care and especially get our essential health needs covered by insurance. In the 1960s and 70s, some trans healthcare was covered under government plans, but in 1981, after a wave of major conservative backlash pushed Ronald Reagan into office, his administration banned CMS from covering gender-affirming care. It was only in 2014 that President Obama's administration required Medicaid to cover gender-affirming procedures. Our progress is very real and also very recent. Our fight is ongoing, and no matter what, we won't back down. Time is a flat circle. By the numbers, 33% of transgender people avoided healthcare because they feared mistreatment or discrimination. 48% of transgender people of color reported being mistreated by a healthcare provider, including verbal harassment, refusal of treatment, or physical abuse. I've seen this happen to my loved ones. Nearly 1 in 4, 24% trans immigrants report avoiding medical care due to their fear of discrimination or deportation. Access to gender-affirming care has been shown to significantly reduce suicide risk and improve mental health outcomes. 42% of transgender adults have attempted suicide at some point in their lives. This rate is significantly higher amongst transgender people of color. Can confirm. Nearly 1/3 of respondents had no health insurance, 31%, at some point in the past year, often due to discrimination or lack of coverage in transition-related care. Oh, that's also me. 50% of respondents also insurance reported having to educate their providers about transgender-related care. 35% of transgender people of color experience a coverage denial for transition-related care, which disproportionately affects immigrant trans people. In order to adopt or change a regulation, the government is required by a federal law to first get feedback from the public on what they think about the proposed change. Oh, okay, so that's what they meant by the comments. Uh, I think this is probably less effective than calling your local representative, honestly. But I don't think that calling your local representative is necessarily going to change much. But maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that calling your representative works. I
What
won't.
even is representative democracy even?
What even is? Yeah, right. You got that right, disembodied voice. Oh wait, are you like tiny still? I don't think you're tiny still. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay. My friend Genesis finally came into the fucking into the realm of the voice.
Indeed, indeed.
Oh yeah, you are really
And
tiny. I'm gonna make you less tiny.
oh god, I forgot about that. I was on the TV. Hello, everyone.
Let me adjust. I invited Moth here a while ago before we even started streaming. It was like, whenever you want to come in, if you want to come in, that's totally fine. Uh,
I've been witnessing everything the whole time.
yeah, I want to claw my skin off, but I already tried that the last week, and that didn't really help.
Yeah.
Oh, hey
I
Glacy, hi. I am
hello.
I am in psychic damage hell, but it's okay.
Yeah, I started this stream with revolutionary optimism, and to a degree, I still do. But I think a big example, it's been said before to death, but like the accumulation and the death of 1,000 paper cut type deal. Like the goal is bodily, emotional overwhelm, so they can run so they can attempt to run unopposed, but also the part of the revolutionary optimism that still sticks with me is the fact that there are two choices, and the choices are continue humanity or destruction. And I feel like we're still in this fight, and this is very much a game of tug of war. And even with all this stuff happening, um, just because they heave and hoe doesn't mean we can't do the same. Um, it's certainly not an easy issue, though.
Oh, certainly. I'm trying not to be like totally defeatist, but like also like I think the realistic approach is that the liberal way of doing things and basically going, please, please, Mr. Fascist President, can I keep just a few of my whites? uh,
Yeah,
or I guess asking representatives isn't obviously the same thing as literally parlaying Trump. But I also am remembering during the inauguration there was like this like lady bishop who literally was like, yo, please have mercy on queer people and immigrants and everyone who fears you'll destroy them. And it was like, and for saying that she was called like a traitor to the government.
yeah.
And I'm just sitting here like, wow. Obviously. um
I mean, the what helps is the fact that it's kind of a crumbling house of cards, because it's a very idiosyncratic administration, not really built on any unity beyond the fact that they are all Christo-fascists, and they have wildly varying beliefs, and come from all different sectors, whether it's from the Chud, Gamergate, 4chan type scenes, or more of the QAnon scenes. It's all this this giant accumulation, but it only works for as much as it has momentum. And the what we've seen again and again is like active people in these hearings and these town meetings, booing these booing these Republicans, people actively demonstrating. And the difference between oh, what's the terms I learned yesterday, the difference between concrete action and I guess representative action. So the difference between standing on like administrative, like legislator steps to protest like climate progress, and being in front of a bulldozer at like a site where something is being like trying to be either demolished or constructed, like Cop City, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I think especially with this, it's been with something as important as trans healthcare, as healthcare as a whole. um, we're going to see more and more that, I mean, taking away more and more social safety nets and the ability for people to have healthcare and all these things. They're just stacking effects where these people are noticing it, and it's going to have it is going to have negative uh, backfirings. And I mean, the I think the biggest and toughest thing is the mental game, and not being led to exhaustion and saying we're cooked, it's over. Um, the truest thing is to see that just as easy as these things have come in, it's not going to be easy to undo the damage, but it is not set in stone. There are these things are still very much like they, they're asking to get as much as they can, and we can't give them an inch. So it's just about, I guess, holding a line, I suppose. I'm Yeah.
I think that that's a reasonable position. I think that part of part of the strategy of the domination of marginalized people is about losing hope, about making us resign to our fate. Uh, that's why we don't think it's just a platitude to say that like continuing to live is like a revolutionary act,
Mm,
especially because like the act of making bathrooms hostile to
mm,
trans people, to like not allowing care, for saying that if a parent uh is is supportive of their trans kid, then that's tantamount to child abuse, are
mm,
all ways to make us like go away, to make
mm,
us stop existing or pretending to not exist, or to game end ourselves. And that is the real, that is the shit that they have been doing. It is uh, a concerted effort, and it is not a new effort.
mm.
Um,
And
yeah.
the I think the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to, and it gives me every day, I have to live out of spite and Schadenfreude, because this is not going to go well for the Silicon Valley and the tech industry. People have already like at this point there is the through all of these mask off efforts, there's not going to be a chance to put the mask back on. We've People are seeing through this shit, seeing what your goal is, other than like, I guess, the kinds of people who do buy into these things and who just passively consume and accept because I guess they, I don't know. I'm not going to make any claim, moral or otherwise, on an imagined straw man crowd, but I will say I don't think as I don't know. It's such a intersectional issue with how so many of these pillars of everything we know of these global superpowers, it we're this is a game that they're projecting themselves as strong, they're projecting themselves as capable, and that only works so much as you have enough, I guess. I don't know, it's grisly. It's super fucking grisly, but it's certainly not unbeatable as much as it may feel like this giant empire Death Star sized threat, you know.
I mean, we are in the heart of empire. We are in. Say it with me, chat. We're in late stage capitalism. Um,
Yay!
right? We are, seeing death throes of like empire. The same thing you see with like companies. I mean, uh, is even with everything that's going on, like we still like look at like video game news and stuff like that because we do care about
Mm,
that stuff, and the reflections of like that sort of stuff affecting the games industry is like been pretty much consistent with how exploitation is happening in other sectors of like the working world, and how people are left out to dry. um,
mm,
and I think that especially in talking about like how an average person would be enthralled by the right because of anti wokeism, gamergate rhetoric, that is a sizable portion of like the sort of cultural dominance that the right seeks to have with, well, anything that could possibly be seen as fun. Um, Technically even the degenerate shit, even though the like fucking 4chan Nazi femboys are definitely going to El Salvador with us. Um,
yeah, and it's all just it's decisions made without ever really. I'd say made without considering the. I mean, it's just all shit done thoughtlessly and out of this cruelty. But we also like you're it's creating more and more of a bipartisan effect because there are also going to be right-leaning people who are trans who this will affect, who are on Medicaid. That this is going to be more and more of an acceleration until we see that there's no war but class war, and that is another reason I'm not throwing in the towel because it relies on the idea of like these very polar sides of you're either progressive or you are like just looking for kicking poor people off or whatever, and obviously there are many reasons people, I guess, vote in fascism, but this is like the defining. I like to bring up the cool zone from time to time, but this is like
the
the
cool
the,
zone.
the yeah, the cool zone where it's a online slang coming from leftist channels where in moments of history where the cool stuff happens, but the cool stuff is not necessarily the greatest to live through, but it is cool to read about. Hence the cool zone. So
The Harlem Renaissance or something.
essentially, um, and so we're especially with these like stochastic demagogues and these like all of this trickles into this propagandistic machine and the demonization of trans people and trying to do all of these different things that strip away everything. It once the wheels are off the car, there's no movement. Fascism cannot function. It is a ant death march, and the people who have been like the people in the CDC, all these like established like scientific bodies and people who no longer have jobs from the quote unquote efficiency purges from Doge. Like they're still alive, they're around, they still give a shit. We all like this shit. It's going to have a boomerang effect, in my opinion. Um, and it's you keep chopping at things until you realize as a MAGA administration, you've chopped off your own legs, and everyone is around you, and there's not a lot of stuff you can do when you have a lot of really angry people who you've like conditioned into this giant pressure vacuum, and neoliberalism can't release the pressure. You like throughout all of this reading of these new bills, like it's just is Project 2025 and
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
live.
probably like I'm pretty sure there's a specific page about this. Actually, looking at the last thing that I was reading, scrolling down to the bottom and seeing that it was actually in April was the deadline to talk about this. There was already stuff about insurance coverage that was getting fucked up before this bill even passed.
Yeah,
It's just like, oh, this is out of date, technically.
I mean, having been in the Biden administration and having been kicked off Medicaid, my HRT coverage on Medicaid was extremely humiliating, and especially in the like I'd just gotten back from seeing like I think the second Spider Verse. Um, and so like going a while without having the, like this is why solidarity is the, the 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 thing that we need to focus on when it comes to any of this stuff. And that's a given, especially in this chat in this community. um we need to
I
depend
would
on
say
each other.
that, but I think that a lot of people are struggling to find their way into that because it can be easier said than done. We've been trying to like understand our local stuff, right? But like it has been a challenge, and especially with like social anxiety and just basically being like, oh, if I'm gonna go to a venue, I need to make sure the bathroom is safe, and shit like that. It's just like so incredibly tense sometimes.
Mm.
And it can be hard to put yourself out there, and uh, especially in the sense of like going to meet people that like ostensibly agree with you, but you still are not sure because, well, the internet kind of poisons your expectations for like other people and what may like energize them and put them up in arms. Not to say that like leftist organizations are just filled with people that you're not gonna agree with if you have only been doing like online political talk, but you're definitely gonna be less able to navigate the social milieu, I guess. I don't know.
Mm, mm.
As a very autistic person and someone whose social skills are definitely dulled by quarantine and COVID and hikimoriism and shit, like I understand when people are like, but I don't know how, but I am not exactly wanting to make excuses for everyone because I do want to encourage people to do more than they think they can in terms of reaching out, understanding like what people in your area like are doing. And I mean, even in rural areas there's concentrations of queer people who are like you know trying to help each other. And um I can only show you
Yeah.
the door. I can't make you walk through it, obviously, and I know that a lot of people are afraid. And I'm afraid. I'm afraid of going out of my house every day. But also, like, if we all just hope that nothing else happens, then like then I
it,
will
it,
say
it
then contributing to like community is like life saving, and that
mm, mm,
it's gonna be more particularly hard if you decide to not try to connect with other people. Um,
mm.
as scary as it is, I want if anything out of the stream you get, Please do not isolate yourself.
Hmm.
Um, that's how we live.
Yeah, and the it feels like at times there's this binary between like the only choices being getting either more radical and more determined, or just complete burnout and this emotional malaise and apathy. And it's I definitely think I would not be where I am without community. And it the biggest thing is to remember that there is a world bigger and brighter and more complex than the algorithms that were served. And that there are very much people who are not working off of this like profit motive incentive or necessarily transactional, even though that is the proposed way that this era of America functions, is like favors for favors and uh, I don't know.
Mutual aid in its original context.
Mm, yeah, and so like I think the biggest thing at this point that I need to work on with myself and with others is trying to, rather than discourage or punish, in the sense of like I guess there's this eagerness and this vitriol from certain leftist communities I see from time to time, where it's like a complete like there's this disgust at people who are not doing enough, and it's whether it's coming from this hypervigilance or this I definitely think there is uh valid reasons to be upset at so much malaise and inaction. But getting to the point, um, I want to try to encourage myself both a patience and a renewal and being consistent with it's the long game. It's not going to be an easy thing of the event, the big thing that will be the catharsis that we all need. Instead, it's the little victories and pushing back and seeing the cracks start to chip, and the more and more they push, and like we seen more and more like the most of the administration despises Musk, chases Musk, like talks bad about Musk behind his back. It's not even a mole or a infiltration thing. They can't even get along with themselves. It's not a sustainable thing, and so we have I think that's the big reason leftists fight so much, is because we are so passionate and really focused on what we want, but we also have to be willing to try, like you said earlier, try a myriad of different things and not necessarily say one thing or the other is like you can be the turbo anarchist and be like, oh man, all this other stuff is just like an awareness rally. There are people showing up in the streets is important. People like showing up to Food Not Bombs is important. People going and participating and providing services regardless of anything, any permission, that's important. It's we shouldn't be saying you're not doing enough. We should be saying here's what you can do to help.
Yeah,
um
I think that
yeah.
there's something to say about like community building not just being like showing up at a protest or something, because like
Mm-mm.
feeding people, meeting people, like helping people be fed. These are things that are important too.
Mm.
There's lots of people trying to help each other. When you're talking about favors for favors, like there are lots of ways that people can help each other survive, and they don't all have the same, I guess, like glamour that someone might imagine, like being in a protest, especially thinking about like old civil rights footage or something. Like there is not just a diversity of tactics, but a diversity of like roles, and everyone
Mm,
has their part to play.
mm. And it's very important to be able to. I mean, the I definitely think there's a bit of a undermining coming from the idea of hyper individualism, and it very much ties into the other form of corporate approved gestural, like pro individualistic action of like, oh, set up a we should set up a clothes drive here, or I guess more specifically, like the idea of individual action as recycling straws, or I, just these things that are helpful, but in a very, I guess, small scale. Like I think back to the age of like 2007, where it's like, yeah, we can do it, guys. We can make it's Earth Day. We're all here.
Oh,
Remember to turn the lights off when you leave your room. Remember to recycle your tissue boxes into new tissue boxes. You know, and it's hard to do that nowadays when we see like the massive amounts of waste and just the carelessness, and it leads to that sense of nihilism when you're just working off of that framework of hyper individuality, and oh, I can't worry about anyone else, I have to do my own action until, you know
I
it,
mean, also that whole framework is a propaganda tool to burden the blame of like climate collapse on the average person and their carbon footprint, even though the average person does not have a lot of control over a lot of that stuff. Not as much as like say any rich person with a jet does.
yeah, in the same way that our taxes are being used to fund the murder of hundreds of millions of people, like we as like Americans, that is like emotionally exhausting to just walk around with, like on a regular basis. Um, so we have to like remember that we are in this together, and this is not an easy cut and dry thing, and it's not going to be solved with you putting your cardboard. You, I guess it's like the idea of during the revolution, who's going to be doing the dishes? Like I definitely think little actions. I don't think little actions are bad. I don't think if anything, I think accumulatively, it's those steps that you can take towards, I guess, greater things. But that also leads into like, I don't know, my interest in organization and like uh, organizing as a whole. And I'm still like, I still feel like I'm amateur hour on most of these fronts. Like I'm a social justice failure, but it's important to remember the whole and not the self. You know,
Yeah. I think that oh, I think so many things, honestly. Too many things.
that's why
Um,
we're here. That's I love. You have many things, and that is a very good thing.
Thank you. Um, I'm trying to think. Organize. Give me 1 second. You said
Take it.
so much though. Also,
Yeah, that's fair. I apologize, chat. I talk like the Energizer Bunny. It's
um,
probably where my pink came from.
oh yeah, it just keeps going and going and going and going.
Yeah,
Um, I think that it's uh really easy to get caught up in your own like helplessness in the situation as it pertains to like the laws, especially in terms of like being in a representative democracy where like once someone's elected it's like actually they'll just do whatever the fuck they want.
mm-hmm.
um it feels weird to to lean on that like disrupted democracy for the change that we want.
It's it's
Um,
like it's like going on Steam and seeing a really promising, shiny video game trailer, and then buying it and installing it, and it's mining your device for crypto and just doing whatever. It's malware. Like that. That's how I feel about most. And I'm not even talking just this administration. Most elections are like, vote for me. I care about stuff, and then they're like, okay, let's demolish those houses. Like it's yeah,
yeah, it's how do you say self-serving
yeah.
in a lot of ways. Um,
Later on, I don't want to like I think I want to let you share some more thoughts, but I have a good example of a recent because Glacier mentioned all politicians, and I wanted to give like a nice kind of nuanced example of like younger politicians who are putting in the work to try and represent their constituents in the face of this.
yeah.
Um, um, and I definitely think there is hope to be gained not just from radical optimism, but from the fact that people are still like I've seen like many different especially from like New York and more East Coast candidates, like people showing up and willing to like yesterday this one constituent I'm trying to remember, I think first name Cat, um but they're like one of their biggest things is once they have reached their campaign like their funding goals, they are no longer accepting any other money beyond that, and the rest will be going into communities and like donated to like that money goes back to people, and that is like
Sorry, you meant a candidate, not a constituent.
yes, candidate, sorry. Well, it goes to because the idea of like people living in a local area, and then you have like I don't know. Explaining representative democracy to myself. Sorry, I'm bimbo. What can you do?
Hi, Bembo.
But yeah,
Okay, there's one more thing I wanted to show.
hmm,
I will stream it in a Discord so you can see it too.
swag. Thank you.
House Speaker Mike Johnson spoke moments ago, as we've been reporting within the last hour. The GOP-led House passed the contentious budget bill. Here's some of what he just said.
Again, they have been proven wrong. Today, the House has passed generational, truly nation-shaping legislation to reduce spending and permanently lower taxes for families and job creators, secure the border, unleash American energy dominance, restore peace through strength, and make government work more efficiently and effectively for all Americans. House Democrats voted against all of that. So everything that I just said, they voted the opposite. Clearly.
All right, now the cuts in this bill could reduce federal Medicaid spending by nearly $700 billion. This is according to analysis from the Congressional Budget Office. Medicaid provides health care to about 72 million Americans, including crucial mental health services. According to KFF, 35% of non-elderly adults who are enrolled in Medicaid have a mental illness, and that includes 10% with a serious mental illness. For more on this, let's bring in Julie Rovner now. She is the chief Washington correspondent of KFF Health News and can provide more detail as to what's in this bill. Julie, good morning to you. It sounds like there the House Speaker is joyful that this has been passed. The healthcare cuts, though, could be wide-reaching. Help us understand what it entails.
Yes, and some of the last-minute changes to this bill made these healthcare cuts even wider reaching. This is what the conservatives wanted in order to win their vote for the bill, to win those last few handfuls of votes. I'm already getting emails from hospital groups concerned that the Medicaid cuts could require them basically to close down either entire facilities or parts of facilities. We know that mental health care is difficult to come by, particularly in rural areas. There are also some pretty dramatic changes to the Affordable Care Act that were made at the last minute in those large southern states that didn't expand Medicaid, states like Florida and Georgia and Texas. Cuts to the Affordable Care Act will end up with more people without insurance, which will put even more pressure on hospitals that are trying to provide sort of money-losing services like mental health care and obstetrics. That's another big issue.
My God, money-losing services. Ah, yes, public health, a money-losing service.
It's never been about the citizens. It's just about the rap sheet at the end of the quarter.
So, if someone's watching this and they rely on Medicaid specifically for mental health services, how would what has just passed impact them?
Well, one of the things that this bill does is it limits states' ability to raise their own money to help pay for their share of Medicaid. That's going to hurt people. But it's important to remember that these cuts will hurt people more than just those on Medicaid and on the Affordable Care Act, because if there aren't enough insured people in a state, either through the private sector or through these government programs, it's going to be difficult for providers to stay in business if they have to provide the uncompensated care. And we will not see, updated numbers from the Congressional Budget Office, I would imagine, for several days. But I would think that their estimates of how many people will end up without insurance because of this bill is going to go up possibly dramatically because of the changes made just last night.
Now, the Medicaid cuts have been among the most contentious components of this bill. It just passed the House, still has to get through the Senate. Based on your reporting, what's the likelihood that any of that might change as the Senate takes a look at this?
Well, the Senate's certainly going to have very different opinions on a lot of this. We've already had some Republicans in the Senate say they will not vote for these deep Medicaid cuts. We don't really know what the Senate thinks about the cuts to the Affordable Care Act. So we're not even quite at halftime of this bill yet, even though it did pass the House by one vote. It does have to get through the Senate, and then presumably whatever the Senate does will have to get back through the House, and that won't be easy either.
All right, Julie Rovner helping us understand at least this stage of this legislation. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay, so at the very least, we can see that the changes are not going into effect yet. I want to make sure that I guess too long didn't reiterating. This is a bill. This is a budget bill. It is going to change a lot of people's availability of healthcare. This is like all sorts of government spending is in this bill. Things may change. I would say try to be optimistic, I guess, but I definitely am not putting that much faith in the Senate to take everything out, because even without a trans care ban, just the funding of Medicaid in general will have a disproportionate effect on queer people and trans people. So there's still a lot to care about and keep track of. Though I would say for everyone's mental health that, staying glued to the news isn't always helpful. Which is why we don't do big streams like this about every single thing that happens that makes us want to talk about it on our platform, because we would just become a 24-hour news fluff, and then we would explode.
Yeah. Breaking news from Fluff Bite 24/7.
There was literally a furry during the George Floyd protests who was like going for multiple days at a time, like streaming like news coverage of stuff that was happening at protests, and like kind of making it more accessible for people. And then she stopped streaming for a while because I don't know, I feel like that probably hurt your mental health or something.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out, like, I know this is not, you know, I'm very, like, my brain is wired to be very solution oriented. I see a problem and I'm like, what I go through the list of all the things I can do to do my part. And I mean, aside from, I guess, being more reading up and being more well versed on local representatives, but even then, I'm always wondering how much, like, those representatives listen to their constituents. And I don't know. The people, do people think I need to research more examples of getting change done to either undo this or to push back against this. Um, Glacier says get Dusk one of those newspaper boy outfits. Lol.
Oh my god. On it, boss.
I think a big part, especially from that earlier part of the video, where you see the big night and day difference with the wording of how they talk about these bills versus what these bills are actually doing, because they always talk about it as if it's like the new Marvel movie. We're bringing strength through unity, like a bundle of
Peace
sticks.
through. They said peace through strength, actually.
Peace through strength. My bad. Um, Peace through strength, and whatever Republican double speak for government efficiency that is just kicking it. I mean, I'm surely we will see the results of so many people who voted for Trump who are also facing this. This is a bipartisan issue, and I hate to focus on it because, like, and sometimes I feel like it's just like I don't want to be like, I want to, like, take the people who have all accumulatively said yes, and I'm like, are you cognizant of what is happening? What is the consequences from all the stuff, which is undoing, like, will this undo all of the social efforts? I say social efforts by the Obama administration. Um,
I mean, a lot of it has been undone already, or is starting to. So yeah, kinda. Yeah, I would say
it,
so. And like
this.
Obama still sucks as he's still a warmonger.
Oh yeah, no, fuck that guy. I want
But
Chad to know.
but
Fuck
also
Obama.
but also it's insane to be like, wow, Obama did some really good things that they're still trying to fuck up.
Oh yeah, Well, it's because, like, it's the I'm trying to remember how Zizek describes it, but, like, the idea of, like, a capitalist socialist, where it's socialism in that, like, roundabout way of, like, like Jeff Bezos, like, Zizek describes like Jeff Bezos's philanthropy as, like, that sign, that kind of quasi socialism, where it's bringing access so you're able to get anything anywhere at any time. It's the socialism of ultimate convenience. Um, we don't even know his first name. It's still a mystery. It's not even in the wiki. I went to the Obama wiki. It wasn't there.
Oh no, it's like Kingdom Hearts. Someone stole Obama's first name.
Oh no! And so his name's like Barry, and then Xehanort's like, "Come now, Obama," and, like, the X, like, he has like 3 X's and they're all silent.
You're an idiot.
Yeah, I am.
I
why
think
you love
that's one of many reasons. Yes, I think I'm done talking about this for now. Obviously, if anyone wants to mention how they feel about it or whatever, at any time during stream, totally, possibly open for that. But literally even naming the stream was giving me like fucking psychosis. Cause like, how do you even go, hey, let's talk about trans genocide and then play some
Yeah.
fun video games? I
Yeah.
I I am not okay, but I'm trying.
I embrace the absurdism, and I I'm taking each day like I am a character in a dystopian RPG, and the like I think as an earlier chat member said, the absurdism as a cover for the was that Specchio? The absurdism as a smokescreen. Um, But yeah, thank you. I definitely think this is as emotionally exhausting as it is. I think I'm glad that you talked about this, and this is an important discussion, because rather we have this just very rough, like, rather we put eyes on it than just ignore the problem and wait for it to get even worse, right? Like, there's some effort of this community and through communicating what is happening, and we're still trying our best to keep on top of it to the degree that is emotionally healthy, and keeping staving away the doomerism and staving away the dystopia depression. It's like Dishonored but less British. Yeah.
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 Be sure to ration your hormones, everybody.
Yes. And also
And it's possible to
talk to your
ask your doctor.
doctors.
Yeah, you can ask your doctor for a bulk refill because of
And
shit like this.
potentially talk with your doctor about re-diagnosing you with a hormone disorder rather than being transgender, especially if you are still currently on Medicaid. Um,
Yeah, it
uh,
isn't a long term solution, but it can buy you some more time.
yes, talk with your doctor about how you can avoid the scythe of fascism.
Thanks for watching.